Welcome to the Golden Boot Podcast with your host, George Hancock, Cody Slavinsky, and Vandy Chris, only on the Dogs Media Network. Welcome in to the Golden Boot Podcast. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Can anybody see me?
Yes.
Am I frozen?
No, you're clear.
Not anymore.
Well, as soon as we came in, everything started spinning, and that was the telltale sign that my computer decided to be stupid. But hey, I'm here. We're here. And this is the Golden Boot Podcast. I'm excited about tonight. What's up, guys? I'm back. I'm back.
Not much.
I know it. I'm going to bring us up like this. I can see us better. All right. Here we go. It is baseball season, y'all. It is a good weekend, right? I'll tell you what I did this weekend because it was interesting. I don't know.
That video was very, very important for the show.
Where did it go?
I don't know. It just quit playing in the middle of it.
Oh, we'll put it in there. Do it.
Okay, good.
Do it. Go.
Years.
10 years.
The group that essentially started this podcast.
10
years, Chris. 10
Chris,
years.
Give it up.
Do you know what else is 10-year anniversary?
What's that?
Vanderbilt's first College World Series title.
Oh, God.
And think about it. We won it in 2014. 5 years later, we won it again in 2019.
Somebody take a shot.
It is now 5 years later.
We've now started the show off talking about Vanderbilt.
I'm pretty sure FAU has something to say about that.
Yeah, for real. We're going to get into that.
FAU lost 2 out of 3 and got boat raced yesterday. I mean, come on now. You're not a Florida fan. Don't talk to me like that.
That's true.
Oh, man. Let's see. Yeah. But yes. Is George frozen or is he just
Probably
like weirdly smiling?
Am I just weirdly smiling?
You were just in there like,
Yes.
Am I good now? Did it fix itself?
You're good.
Yes.
I thought you were like waiting on something to like
listen.
So,
I literally left. This computer has not done anything all weekend. It's been sleeping. It's been resting. It's got all its rest. I get here and it decides it just can't work anymore.
That's
Really? God.
that's your problem. You should have shut it off over the weekend.
It was shut off. Thank you very much, Mr. Smart Alec. It was
Okay.
shut off. Shut off. Is this a show with Kenny content? No.
No, but there might be a video with a choice word in it.
There might be. Might be.
Oh, there definitely will be.
Kenny content, well, it depends on what Kenny content means. Do you mean language or do you mean actual Kenny? Because no, Kenny's not being on the show tonight. No. We're not talking about anything regarding too much. No, not that. No. I just got this thing fixed. Like I just upgraded it with more RAM and stuff. Said it needed an update. I should have just went ahead and updated it because it wouldn't take long, but whatever. Choices, thank God. I'm excited to be back. Y'all held down the fort Friday. I know it was a good show. I think
It's all right.
Yeah, I mean, we gained a new follower here. I saw Jamie jumped in and on YouTube. He's back tonight. I'm excited. Good to meet you, man. Boy, did we see some absolutely good baseball this weekend, man.
I notice he keeps freezing
Yes.
And I guarantee,
freezing?
I guarantee behind the scenes when he freezes, he's looking like this.
Probably. Probably. Y'all can't see, but I am panicking over here. Am I good now?
I might be looking like that myself when I'm off of the computer.
I mean, you know.
Because
I know. Hola, Andrew from Twitter.
I like it.
well, hello, Twitter.
Troy, I will get on and ask Chris about them Tigers. Oh, God. No, you won't. Not.
Oh, my gosh. George, you're frozen
Oh
again, brother.
gosh.
All right. I'm going to take over for George for a minute since he is frozen. This weekend, Chris, we saw some good baseball. We saw some epic baseball. George, I'm going to fill in for a second while you're frozen. So, yeah, I got you, brother. Anyway, the Florida Gators are the only team in the SEC that have yet to win a game. That is so nice to say. I love saying it right now. And it makes my day.
While you're talking about that, let me throw this dagger out there. I did see in a couple SEC groups this weekend where Florida fans were wanting to take shots at Vanderbilt for losing to FAU on Saturday.
I mean,
Florida, you're the only winless team in the SEC. Sit your tails down and shut up.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Vanderbilt did not look great over the weekend. No shade to them or anything. I mean, they legitimately did not. But
other than
they were getting it together. Yeah, for sure. I mean, they were just getting it together though, and that's what the point of these opening weekends are: is see what you got, make some adjustments, and keep making adjustments till you get to conference play. Because let's be real, if you play in the SEC, what you do outside of the SEC really does not matter until you get to conference play, because you win 15 conference games, you're in, pretty much guaranteed.
Yes.
You win 14, you're still probably in, because that's just how it works.
If you're Auburn and you win 14, you're not in.
Well, that's true. That's true. But
you lost your seat at the table.
That's a very good point. So after the opening weekend of games, LSU is leading the SEC in offense, hitting 380. They had 52 hits. The next closest team has 40. That's Arkansas. And LSU, though, the weird thing about them this weekend, they're not a home run hitting team. I mean, don't get me wrong, they hit some home runs, but that's not their focus, man. They are a straight up base hit team, and I love it. So yesterday, LSU beat VMI 27-5. 27-2 or something. Anyway, it was a weird score.
27-2, I think.
Yeah. So in that game, though, LSU actually had two records set: most hits in a game, which they broke the national championship record. They did. They tied it, something like that. But also most singles in a game. They hit 20 singles yesterday. And you just you just don't see that. And
it's weird that they did it that way, because on Friday we saw Coastal Carolina put up 26 runs on just 15 hits.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a very
two different styles of offense there. Yeah.
So LSU does lead the SEC in hit by pitch. They've got 15 so far on the year. Very, very proud of that stat.
The question is, do they lead it nationally?
No, they do not. So I don't know if you saw this. That kid from Sacramento State that had all those hit by pitches, he got hit again in the third game or whatever. So it put him at 9, and then his 10th at bat, or his chance to be hit for the 10th time, he got hit, but they ended up calling it a strike because he didn't try to get out of the way. My mind was blown on that. And then
don't turn into the bitch.
I'm telling you. So this is the graphic right here where Big Donkey, he had shared about the initial, like when he first got noticed or whatever, and Tylenol of all people commented. So he said, "Give this kid an NIL deal."
Right.
I mean, how crazy that
worthy.
You were sponsored by Tylenol as an athlete. That'd be amazing.
Yes.
My God, could you just imagine? But so
you would think there'd be some money involved there.
Oh, absolutely. So I had time this weekend to scroll Twitter quite a bit, just see the best things I could find on there. And I found an image, and I'm sure this image has been seen by probably everybody except for me, because I just don't pay attention to a lot of stuff anymore. But I saw this image and it bothers me. So this bothers me because
it bothers me too.
Yeah, because okay, cool. Cool picture of Tony Vitello posing with a trophy in front of the Vols logo. That's great and all, but here's
Go
the
win
thing.
one.
Why would you pose with one that literally says participant? So you're posing with a participation trophy. I mean, like, what does that say? It's like, hey, come here, you can participate. Good job.
If you want to pose with a trophy, you can do it the way Vanderbilt did it and go win yourself one and then pose.
Kind of like this guy right here next to me, hugging his trophy that they won last year. I mean, it's insane.
Favorite is to win the trophy now.
Who's that?
Wake Forest.
Okay. I think that's very
I
valid.
did have Arkansas at number one. My pick to win the College World Series. But after seeing what I saw this weekend, I have to think Wake Forest is the best in the business.
Sure.
There's some good teams out there, make no mistake. But when you can beat people so many different ways like Wake Forest can, you have to be the front runner.
Yeah.
And what I saw out of Arkansas, pitching's going to be a question. We thought they were beat. Their pitching did not look great. Their bats did not look great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a concern if you're Arkansas. Is this going to be another Dave Van Horn win 50 games and go home?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a shame to say. Because, so looking at examining LSU over the weekend, we got to see some of our freshman arms pitch. And so, the highest touted player coming into college this year was the left-handed pitcher Cam Johnson, and that throws high 90s. Well, he had a terrible outing yesterday. He pitched one inning, had 6 walks.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was just, it just was not a good showing. His stuff is electric, but just wasn't there. And then today, Cade Anderson, who is a lefty from Louisiana, he was a very highly touted pitcher coming in. He was injured last year, so his ratings on all the baseball rating sites went down because he just didn't get to show a lot last year. So he kind of came in as an underrated player, and he started today, and he looked really good. I mean, he got hit on quite a bit, but nothing that was alarming or anything like that. For his first ever appearance in college, I thought he did phenomenal. But the one thing that stuck out to me was Stephen Milam. He's a freshman. He was a Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Arizona, and he didn't play game 1, but he started games 2, 3, and 4. And at one point today, his total, he was 6 for 8 at the plate. And the kid, he just could not be stopped. He was amazing, and his defense is great. He's a really small. He's a short guy, and but he reminds me a lot of Antoine Duplantis, to be perfectly honest. He just hits the ball. But the weird thing is, for him to be such a smaller guy, he has power for days. He has a really good pop in his bat, and I really like seeing that. And so I'm kind of with Wake Forest. I think LSU's really up there with them. I was very happy with what I saw over the weekend. Obviously, we didn't play the level of competition I'd like to see us play, but I was very just happy with what I saw. But there was a few other teams, though, that really just blew me away this weekend. Campbell just absolutely I think they won everybody over again this weekend. Oral Roberts did not have a good weekend. They went 1-2. Start the season, but Campbell, they get beat pretty handily in game 1 against Santa Barbara, and then they win games 2 and 3. But here's the weird thing: in D1 baseball's rankings, they did not have Santa Barbara in their preseason poll, but they ranked them after this weekend, after going 1-2. I don't get it.
Because they beat Campbell, and Campbell's the love story.
But they lost twice, and Campbell's not ranked. It's a weird. I don't get it.
Weird metric for sure.
Yes, I'm wondering if it was a mistake. Just to be perfectly honest, it was just absolutely crazy. I see we have quite a few comments. I hadn't even looked over there. So I will say this to Troy asking about the Pac-2 update. Oregon State's awesome, and Washington State, to update on them, they got beat by Utah Tech over the weekend, unfortunately.
Oh, God, you taught that. So we're discussing pitchers.
Sure.
So Vanderbilt's got a guy, Brennan Siever, committed to Vanderbilt at the beginning of his sophomore year in high school. At the time, he was one of the top 20 recruits in high school. He had to have Tommy John surgery that year, missed his sophomore and junior seasons, and it caused his ranking to slip. And the movement on his fastball this weekend was so severe that the TV crew had to check the radar gun to make sure it wasn't a breaking ball. He looked pretty nasty.
Wow. That's impressive.
And while we're talking about pitchers, I did see Andrew mentioned South Carolina pitching. Let me just say, of all the teams in the SEC that you would think would have a no-hitter on opening weekend, you think Vanderbilt, LSU, Arkansas, Florida, you think of Tennessee even, you think of those teams of being that team to do that? Nah, none of them. It was South Carolina, who a lot of people questioning their pitching coming into the season. And lo and behold, they are the one team in the SEC that got a no-hitter. And we did consider their staff on that day for pitcher of the week, but we ultimately decided on just one player because it's an individual reward, not a group award. So,
actually,
Cody,
hold on. Technically, we could have nominated their staff as one person, as Johnny Hull's staff.
This is true.
So
true. I forgot that name.
But yes, yes. So the pitcher of the week that we decided on will be Cam Leiter. And I mean, the fact that he had the most strikeouts in a FSU debut since 1978, considering who has gone through there over the years, I mean, that's saying something.
Yeah.
I don't care if you play a high school team and do that. I mean, it's very good.
Yeah.
I mean, just to make it sound better, in 5 innings, you get a chance at 15 outs, and 13 of those were strikeouts. That's unheard of.
Yeah. And if you recognize that name, Leiter, let's answer some questions. He is Jack Leiter's cousin. It's Al Leiter's nephew. His other cousin, Mark Jr., is in the Cubs organization right now. And his dad, Kurt Leiter, played in the Orioles organization. And he's got a sister and a brother that both played at Oklahoma State. And were athletes at Oklahoma State. So he has the lineage to be special. Now, can he do the things that Jack did in college? We'll wait to see on that to determine if he's that guy or not.
Sure.
But that's an awfully impressive start.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't get no better than that. And while we're talking about impressive numbers, there's 2 shout-outs you got to give. Coach Elliott Avant at North Carolina State got his 1,000th career victory as a head coach over the weekend. Yep. Huge accomplishment. NC State, I believe, won 2 or 3, and the one they lost was to VCU. And then also going to college softball, Coach Beth Torina at LSU got her 500th career victory. So, I mean, that's just great feats for a coach right there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
On the baseball side of things, I think there's only a few current active coaches that have 1,000.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you get to that club. I mean, that's special. That really is.
Yes.
But then you can go to basketball and you could talk about, Coach Patino, or Patino. God, I get those 2 names mixed up every year. And he's having the opposite effect right now.
Oh, my goodness. What he did yesterday is just kind of makes you wonder if he's fit to be a college basketball coach.
I think he's checking out. I mean, his teams have looked so subpar over the last few years. It's weird.
To quote something he said this weekend, he was asked the question, would you approach your first off season differently than you did last year? And he said, no, we had to take the kids that we could take. We had no talent to choose from, and we had to take who we could take.
Yep. That's weird. Yeah. How would you feel being a player on that team and hearing that?
Oh, he also went on to say some things like this is the most unathletic team, or it's the least athletic team in the conference. He said that Georgetown, which is the worst team in the conference, is probably going to beat his team. And he literally named every player on his team and said they were either unathletic or not physical enough.
That's just...
And if I'm the AD at St. John's, I'm looking for somebody to take him.
Yeah, maybe he should get some advice from the baseball coach.
Actually, I've got the perfect answer for the AD at St. John's.
I already know you're going with this. The most arrogant man in basketball.
That dude, my God. How do you let your team lose by 35 points on the road to your in-state rival in the same conference as you and don't even call a timeout? You just played 40 minutes of basketball, got beat by 35 points, and didn't call a single timeout. In my opinion, that's a dereliction of duty.
Yep. Let's see here.
Here's a great question.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on Tennessee's first 3-game stretch? Dustin says he's going to hang up and listen.
I like what I saw out of Tennessee. I really did. They suffered a loss to Oklahoma, but that game was phenomenal. It really was. I thought Drew Beam he just didn't look like he was ready. Unfortunately, this weekend, he just was not there. AJ Russell, he was fine on the mound. He got tattooed a little bit, but he had a lot of putouts as well. So overall as a whole, I like what I saw out of Tennessee. I really do. I think that, I personally have them going to Omaha at preseason. I did, and after what I saw, I'm not changing my opinion on that. Still, I'm very impressed with what they brought back and what they can do this year. If they had Chase Burns on that team right now, it would be a huge difference maker for them. But I think overall, though, I think Tennessee will be fine. Do I think they're national championship worthy? No. I think they're close. Unfortunately, I think, and this is terrible to say, I feel bad I'm going to say this, but I think Vitello's getting into that Dave Van Horn phase of his career where he's just going to have good teams that just don't get the job done at the end of the day. And I hate to say that because at the end of the day, I hate when we play Tennessee, and I hate when they're getting super hyped up like they were the last, 2 seasons ago or whatever. But ultimately, it was good for baseball. It really was. And it brought a lot of attention to the game, and that I'm always for it.
As the resident Tennessee hater,
yes,
I will say this: AJ Russell, Drew Beam, Christian Moore, and Kavares Tears are 4 names that wear orange that you need to watch.
Oh, and Billy Amick as well.
And Billy Amick as well. Kavares Tears, that kid can rake. And if you get him a full season playing every day, there's no telling what kind of numbers this kid's going to put up.
For sure. That is a great comparison. It really is. And I'm hoping I'm wrong on that because I would love to see him bring a national championship to Knoxville. Chris wouldn't like that because, it's Tennessee. He hates them. But he brings a whole different element. And he made Tennessee baseball back on the map, and they needed that. And I feel that if he can keep recruiting well and keep getting these portal guys like a Billy Amick coming in, that's going to help in the future. But ultimately, I just don't see them having that roster that's going to be able to hang in there for a long series in Omaha.
So, since the inception of our baseball group, College Baseball Smack, you've seen the arguments about Vanderbilt about having the unfair advantage.
Yep.
You want to see something that Tony Vitello is not going to like?
Absolutely, always. Yeah.
For decades, it's been cried about in the baseball circles that Vanderbilt had an unfair advantage in unlimited scholarships in baseball. It's technically not true. What they did have was Opportunity Vanderbilt, which allowed them to lessen the cost of college for people that didn't get scholarships. They didn't give them free scholarships. They lessened the cost. Now, comparatively, when you're paying $60,000 to go to Vanderbilt versus $5,000 or $6,000 to go to a place like Mississippi State or Tennessee, that's a huge difference. That's advantage. That's actually advantage to those other schools.
Yeah.
So what's going to drive the college baseball world crazy is this right here. Vanderbilt has announced that they will guarantee full tuition scholarships to all students whose income falls below $150,000 in their family. Guess what? You want to talk some advantages and scholarships? Now we can talk, because now we have that advantage. You can have all your NIL money that you want, but those kids ain't graduating with a degree from Vanderbilt University.
There you go.
And I'm bold. I love that. I love that they're doing that. And if people want to complain about it, guess what? You're paying these kids to come to your school with NIL money. We're just paying them to come with the scholarship.
Okay, so Dustin has a good question. Who wants to go be mediocre in sports, though? Okay, so while I understand that, but there is one thing, though, that I will give Vanderbilt their credit for is they got some money finally. And they're putting that money to use. Now, will their AD step up and fully realize that, hey, there's actually some potential here for this school? I guess we'll find out when they make a Jerry Stackhouse announcement.
So let me throw this comment back up there. Who wants to go be mediocre in sports, though? Let me just remind you that since the start of the 2011 season, in all sports, Vanderbilt has won 8 national championships in that time in various sports, to Tennessee's 5. Do you want to talk about who's mediocre in sports, Dustin?
So wait. All right. So what all did Vanderbilt win those in? I know baseball.
Baseball, women's tennis.
Okay.
And bowling.
Okay. Wait, how many in bowling?
I think 3.
All right. I'm subtracting 3 from your 8. I'm sorry. I do not consider bowling a sport. That's a mental game.
But is it? Have you seen the training that those girls go through?
Yeah.
They run more stairs at Vanderbilt Stadium than the football team does.
True. So then does that mean that I need to count the women's hip hop dancing national championship at LSU?
I mean, Tennessee's counting their cheerleading championship.
I get it. Yeah. And I mean, I guess, yeah. I'll give them the props in bowling.
Auburn counts your horse riding championships.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in that case, though, I mean, even if you took away the bowl, I mean, it's still 5 national championships. I mean, that's still fantastic. Right. So, I mean, yeah. Chess club. But no, like, okay, so they got money, but money doesn't buy you reputation in sports. That's true. No, that's very true. That being said, though, if they let Clark Lee spend that money, like really spend that money, man,
yeah,
Vanderbilt could actually do something. Now, I think it's going to take more than a year to do that. I think he's got the pieces in place this year to actually exceed what the bookmakers are saying they'll do. Mm-hmm. I mean, because I think, what was it, like plus 2.5 wins for football?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think 3 or more is possible. George is currently on the phone with his, I'm assuming with the internet company. So he will be back eventually. But no, so Chris, I've got to go ahead and share this video because it's so funny. It's the Tim Corbin video. I think we've got to just play it. It's too funny.
Yeah,
not play.
we talked about coaches throwing players under the bus like Rick Pitino, but I don't know that I've seen a coach throw a player under the bus in this manner.
He's okay. Just, had the shits and he's throwing up.
That is something I never thought I'd ever hear that man say.
No, not out of his mouth.
I mean, that's so funny to me. So
I
video.
I like this argument that Dustin brings up. They will not lower the academic standards, though, for great players to come there. So let's talk about this. The best running back in pro football right now is arguably CMC.
Sure. Yeah.
If he can get into Stanford, he can get into Vanderbilt.
It's true.
Let's talk about one of the best quarterbacks in college football of the last 15 years, Andrew Luck. If he can get into Stanford, he can get into Vandy.
But there is a difference.
Let's talk about some of the great basketball players.
Sure.
If Christian Laettner can get into Duke, he can get into Vanderbilt. So
sure.
This nonsense about the academic standards is it's noise.
Yes.
Because if those kids can get into those schools, they can get into Vanderbilt as well.
Yes, but the one thing too, though, you have to think about those prestige. Back when McCaffrey and Luck were at Stanford, they were a highly respected football program. When Christian Laettner was at Duke, they were highly respected.
Less than 5 years before Andrew Luck got to Stanford, they were a 1-11 football team.
Sure, they were. So you have to have somebody that can build that prestige, though. You gotta have someone that's going to have these kids wanting to believe in them. Can Clark Lee be that guy? That's the question.
Good question.
And you would think too, based off of his background and who he's worked with and all that, and who he brought in with him originally, I was like, hey, there's something here. Unfortunately, Clark Lee has the personality of a white paint on a wall. And it seems like to me, like I just don't see that. I don't see that Nick Saban mentality in him. That chew a hole in.
So I love that Dustin's engaging in this.
I do too.
This is fun for me to talk about. But he asked a question. As a recruit, tell me why Vandy's a good fit for me. So let me sell this program.
I like this.
I'm going to sell my program to you. You get a world-class education, number one. You might not be concerned about a world-class education, and that's fine. Did you know we're the only SEC school that plays in the city that has an NFL football team? Did you know that NFL owner invested in our NIL program? We got some money tied to the NFL coming into our football program. It's the greatest city in the Southeastern Conference. You get to play in the greatest conference in college football, the SEC, and you get the world-class education. And if it's money you're looking for, let's talk money, because if the NCAA loses its lawsuit and NIL rules are not enforced and it becomes pay for play, Vanderbilt has the third largest endowment in the SEC behind Texas and Texas A&M. You want to talk money? We got money. And if we're going to go pay for play, be careful what you ask for, because we can pay you. And we play in a great city. We have NFL investors pumping money into our program. If you want to go to the NFL, Nashville, Tennessee is the place to be.
There you go. Now, but that leads me to a question of, would Vanderbilt ever consider modifying their academic requirements to get better athletes? Because that is an issue.
They actually did.
Okay.
Back in 2012.
Okay.
The unfortunate part of that is James Franklin brought some players in here that acted irresponsibly at best.
I like how you had to think of the right word to use there.
That are sitting in prison today, and as such, they rose them back up to where they were.
Yeah.
So if we can get the talent in here that's not going to act fools, I mean, how do I put it? They're not going to kick a cop in the face, like is what happened at another SEC school.
There you go.
They would do it, but they have to be able to trust that the leader of the program is not going to let those guys in.
Yeah, that makes sense. So now to get to a little bit of some positive highlights that I was able to rack up over the internet. Actually, let's address it. Okay, if I want to, biggest games like in Death Valley, 3rd Saturday in October, Iron Bowl, 100,000 people every weekend. Rather that to me to get exposed. Okay, that is a very good question from Dustin right there.
That's a valid point. But are you playing football just to play in front of a lot of people? Is that the only reason you want to play football? Because I can tell you, of those 1,000 people, probably 10 of them might have actually played in the college football game. So is that what's important, is playing in front of the big crowd, or is it getting the education and getting to the NFL and playing in front of NFL teams that are in your city and having a direct line to the NFL? That's important.
Yeah.
And the idea that Vanderbilt can't produce NFL talent is just not true.
Sure, that's valid. Now, one thing I will say that I feel like is a disadvantage to Vanderbilt is the fact that their social media presence isn't there yet. I feel like that's one thing they've lacked on. Like baseball wise, they're fine. The Vandy Boys mantra, that's perfect. But football wise, you just don't see, like, when was the last time? And this is a serious question. When was the last time you saw Vanderbilt be in like that SC top 10 or anything like that? You don't see that kind of exposure. Like
now
you just don't see that.
The problem. Yes.
Yeah, like I want to see a situation where you had a receiver like Will Shepherd that has all the potential in the world on the team. That kid should have made at least 3 plays last year that should have got him top 10, but he didn't. Now, and that's a whole different argument for a different day about why he didn't do that. And we understand and we see where he went to get some exposure, and we'll see how that pans out for him. Anyway, but speaking of the SC top 10, I've got 2 plays that I want to share with everybody that are going to blow your mind that happened over the weekend. So if you're not necessarily a baseball fan of college baseball, but you might consider it, I got 2 videos I want to show you, and we can talk about how absolutely insane these plays were.
The grass, he picked it. Because Paxton Kling right there was shaded a little bit toward right center field. And how about this effort?
Perhaps the best I've ever seen.
That was Dylan Cruz-like is what that was like.
An amazing.
How did he get over there? How did he get over there? How is that even possible?
We just watched 3 years of it.
Did we, though? Dylan Cruz never made a play like that. From that being in right center and running that far, no. Never.
Enrique Bradfield made plays like that on a weekly basis for the last 3 years.
Well, there's a difference in Enrique and everybody else. Nobody has that speed like he does.
I mean,
Seth is just now jumping in. Seth literally missed about 20 minutes of legitimate good Vanderbilt talk.
Yeah.
And he's hopping in. Now, here's another play that I saw that I really liked over the weekend. I just like seeing a home run get robbed. That's one of my. I don't care who does it, where they do it. That's just fun to see, and that was a fun play. But those 2 plays over the weekend to me were just super fun to watch. But that Paxton Kling catch to me, they literally call him Kling Kong. That is the greatest nickname you could ever have. And the kid, he was one of the highest rated recruits coming out of high school to ever go to LSU. If I'm not mistaken, he was actually ranked better. In the rankings than Dylan Cruz was when he was coming out of high school, which is saying something because the one thing I will say, though, about Paxton, unfortunately, is his bat did not follow him to college. Like, he just hasn't gotten that groove yet. And I think, over time, I think it'll come, but he had that disadvantage that he's from Pennsylvania, so playing in that cold weather all the time, it's a different kind of setup. You don't play as many games up there. So,
is it really a disadvantage though? Because if you look at Tim Corbin and some of these nationally known coaches, where do you think they get their talent at? They go scour the Northeast. If you want baseball for a college career and you're in the Northeast, you're going to be seen.
Yeah. Poor George. 4 megabytes per second. And so if anyone's wondering where George is back in town. He is technically available, but he can't be on the show because his internet is so bad tonight that he was literally just freezing every 2 seconds on the screen. So unfortunately, you have to deal with our 2 ugly mugs for a little bit.
Well, but I was going to take it a different route. He is our traffic cop, but he made a fatal mistake the other night and caused a traffic accident. We had a massive pile up on Friday night on the Golden Boot show that caused us to only go for an hour. Yeah. And as such, he has been relegated to desk duty now.
Yes. So, the other night show, though, to be fair, there was just not anything going on in sports at the time, really. We were stuck with the NBA All-Star game, which, let's be real, I'm not going to cover that. It's an All-Star game that has zero meaning to anything. The more entertaining part was the celebrity game, because those dudes were going wild. You had that, and that happened after our show anyway. But all we literally had was baseball games that happened that day, and that was it. So the fact that we were able to stretch that to an hour was awesome. And we definitely appreciate Brad coming on too, because that was great. And speaking of Brad, his Iowa Hawkeyes unfortunately dropped a game over the weekend. That was a shame.
So their starting pitching looks so good though.
They did.
So good. Brody Breck was dialed in at 100. Kid was good. So I was going to address this comment by Mr. Dustin. Dustin's a good guy. Love him to death. I've interacted with him for about a year and a half now. But let's be honest here. Tony Vitello has won 2 series against Vanderbilt in 6 years.
Yeah.
Enough said. He also has won 0 national championships in his time at Tennessee. And while he's been at Tennessee, Vandy has won 1. So who's really the daddy?
There you go. There was some other baseball though out across the nation that was good.
We talked so much about good. Yeah, we talked so much about good baseball. I think we need to address some bad baseball.
Yeah, let's talk about Stanford. Losing 2 of 3 to start out to Cal State Fullerton, who unfortunately for Fullerton, they have been on the decline the last few years. And with this whole NIL platform and everything kicking in, it's given them a huge disadvantage. Overall, there's no way for a program like that to succeed. But I say that, and then you look at Cal San Diego, who's doing really well. You've got Long Beach State, you got Cal Irvine, you got all these teams out there that somehow are getting all these kids that maybe not necessarily getting recruited by these bigger schools, but they're kids that are very talented, and maybe they would have been a backup at one of these bigger schools, and they're like, screw that, I want to play now. And now they're utilizing that. And Cal Santa Barbara losing 2 at Campbell, you literally traveled all the way across the country. I'll give you benefit of the doubt there. I really will. That being said, can they rebound from that bad closeout of a series at Campbell? And is Campbell actually going to keep the momentum going? Because after game 1, I was definitely thinking that they're done, but I was clearly wrong.
Fair. If you want to talk bad baseball, we have to mention St. Peter's.
St. Peter's has a baseball program?
Yeah. Didn't you know peacocks fly in the spring too?
Learn something new every day.
So St. Peter's went on the road this weekend. They played at Presbyterian. And if you know anything about college baseball, you know that that's where Tim Corbin got his start at. St. Peter's proceeded to go 0-4. They got outscored 58-12. They never, in all 4 games, they gave up no less than 10 runs in any single game. And they lost 2 of those games in 7 innings by run rule and 16-1 and 16-3 scores. To say they had a bad weekend is putting it lightly. And for that reason, they are this week's recipient of the Dirty Jockstrap.
Yes.
When we talk about Dirty Jockstrap, we're talking this thing's been worn for about 3 months of the college baseball season in 100-degree weather and hasn't been washed yet. That's
Found
how
in the
dirty
back of
this
Chris's
jockstrap
drawer.
is.
So while we're talking about that, because the video package I made is actually combined with the broom. So we have to also address who our winner of the broom is. Whoa. Chris, you like froze up on me there, bud.
I'll be back in. It should be back to normal in just a second.
Okay, you're good.
I had to do something real quick.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, you're good. All right, so we have to also do the broom as well. And we decided, and this honestly could have went to a lot of teams. We had the joke of St. John's getting it for beating Florida, going undefeated against Florida this weekend, even if it was 1 game, and then Florida quit on everybody. And then, but then you also had Cal San Diego, who is a team that is unfortunately not going to be able to make the postseason, but they deserve it. But the team we went with was Duke after playing arguably the toughest slate of games over the weekend and actually won them all. So with that being said, because don't get me wrong, Tennessee would have won out this weekend. I probably would have voted Tennessee for the broom, to be perfectly honest. But
Yeah, good competition.
yeah, but the team that got it this weekend was the Duke Blue Devils. So here is our video package for that. So there you go. That was our 2 choices for the weekend. Very excited that we even can bring that award back. The next week, we will have a much better and updated logo for this. But I took the weekend off from doing any graphics because my birthday was Saturday. My daughter's is today. She turned 6. Got to give a shout out to my Leah Jane. She's the best. She's the biggest sweetheart / mean kid ever. But she turned 6 years old today, and I always got to show my baby girl off. So she was very happy. So she was out of school today, so she got to go to dance camp and had a great time doing so. And so she was there all day while I watched the 2 youngins. And Cheyenne got to go out and do some dress shopping for a wedding that she's going to be in a few months. So I was, wrestling a 2-year-old and a 8-month-old. So that was a lot of fun today.
Those are the fun days. So we've been going for about 55 minutes here. What do you say we take a break and pay some bills with the sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Sounds good to me.
Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some.
Gano seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa, whoa.
Joe,
Hey.
we all know you're the best.
What?
But you can always do better.
What you got?
Try the new Dano's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
You're listening to the Golden Boot Podcast. Stay golden.
All right. And if you want some Dano's seasoning, use code word dog bones at the end of your purchase to save some money.
So I picked that advertisement for a specific reason because South Carolina looked really good this weekend. They looked a whole lot better than some naked dancing chickens for sure. That pitching staff.
I'm sorry I'm laughing, but I'm remembering that video from last year that you had of the
right.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So to me, South Carolina was the team in the SEC that surprised me the most. I had them on the fringe of the top 25. Knew they had some injury concerns coming into the season. But Gavin Cassis played all 3 games this weekend. He looked fine. Knee didn't seem to be a problem. And their pitching, without Becker, they didn't miss him. They didn't skip a beat. Sunday they had a staff no-hitter and won a 7-inning game by run rule. It was pretty good game that they played yesterday. Nice and clean, no errors. South Carolina looked really good to me this weekend.
Yeah, it's kind of the same as how they started last year too. You know, they really nobody knew what to expect out of South Carolina. And really coming into this year, we were kind of on the same boat. It's like some people had South Carolina ranked really good. Some people had them very low. Like nobody really knew where to put them. And they passed the eye test. That is for sure.
So shifting gears a little bit, we've been talking a lot of baseball. Let's touch on some college basketball real quick.
Let's do it.
So what do you think of Kentucky at Auburn on Saturday?
I guess Kentucky's back because you go to the jungle and win. I mean, that's huge.
That's a significant win.
It really is because for some reason on the road, Auburn is trash, but this weekend they were trash at home, and that was weird to see.
And the scary part is Kentucky's playing defense now. Where did that come from?
I mean, I was wondering the same thing myself, actually, because that was definitely a different looking team than I've seen the last few weeks.
And another team that's looking different is South Carolina, who's now lost 2 in a row.
Losing to LSU at that after having a 14-point lead in the first half.
Yes. It's not the same team they were 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
Don't know what's going on there, but that definitely looked different. And, I can't talk about college basketball this weekend without mentioning some trolling that went on yesterday. I don't know if you saw it or not, but there's a lot of trolling from Tennessee fans yesterday. Apparently, Big Orange Punch, he's a very noteworthy Tennessee fan, changed his name to Vanderbilt Men's Basketball and put out a meme for a statement saying that Vanderbilt had parted ways with Jerry Stackhouse. And it caught some traction, but everybody caught on pretty quick that, yeah, this isn't Vanderbilt basketball. But that's okay because I actually happen to agree with him.
I mean, I'd be shocked if no one, if there was a single person that said they didn't agree, I'd be very shocked.
Heard some guys today defending Stackhouse, which blows my mind. How can you defend a coach that loses a game to your in-state rival in the same conference by 35 points and you called 0 timeouts the entire game?
Yep. And would they have like 20 points in the first half?
It was 51-21 at halftime. And not a single timeout used.
Yeah, that's
how.
That to me sounds like a coach that does not care.
Yeah. Sounds like
I hate to say that.
It is word from within the program says he's been checked out since November. He goes on the road. He takes his golf clubs with him, and he goes golfing the morning of a game.
Yeah,
what coach does that? That's not normal.
I mean, that really is not normal. And I mean, let's be real. A coach should never check out from their team. I don't care if you're 0 and whatever, but that's just unheard of.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It really did look like on Saturday night that his team quit on him.
Yeah. And it definitely did. Because I watched a little bit of that and I was very just kind of embarrassing to watch. Like, I understand why kids transferred out of that program last year.
Yeah.
So,
well, a guy like Jordan Wright, you're a fifth-year senior. You've already got your degree. Why not go back home?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was common sense right there. And plus, his high school teammate transferred in as well, and that helped. So it worked out good for him. That being said, speaking of basketball in the state of Tennessee, I believe you have an announcement to make about a previous guest of ours.
Yes. A week or so ago, we had on Grayson Burleson. He's a Vanderbilt pitching commit that also plays high school basketball. And his high school team on Saturday night won their district tournament. And he was named all district in basketball as the district MVP. And he also made the all tournament team in the district tournament. He did not win the MVP for the tournament, but his cousin did, which, that's not surprising either. And he is now less than 500 points away from breaking his dad's high school scoring record and still has another full season to play. So it's pretty safe to say he's going to break that record.
No, like I told him on the show that he's going to get pulled out when he's like within like a couple points away, and they're just going to bench him the rest of the year.
And what was pretty cool about it, after they won their game Saturday night and he was named season MVP on Sunday, he got to go watch Mr. Devin Futrell do his thing at Hawkins Field. And if you know anything about SEC baseball, he gets overshadowed by bigger names like Drew Beam and Chase Burns and Paul Skeens, Hagen Smith at Arkansas. He gets overshadowed.
Yeah.
But what Devin Futrell has done is come into Vanderbilt. He won 9 games as a freshman. He won 8 games last year. His career record is 18-6. All he does is win. And, he shoved yesterday, looked really good doing it. And Vanderbilt got a much-needed win yesterday to take the series. And Grayson got to be there to see it.
Man. It's amazing. Sorry, I'm on I just put up Twitter. I was wanting to see if any update had been made on Jerry Stackhouse or not, but that doesn't look like there has been anything.
Nah. You might find 8 or 10 different tweets by me calling for our AD to do our job. So, but it is what it is. I don't mind speaking my mind, and if you're not going to do your job, maybe the AD needs to go too.
At this point, absolutely. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Let's see if we've missed anything good to share.
John Jenkins was a baller back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Actually, won't you I believe you have the 11.7 rankings for the mid-majors, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, we're going to bring those up, actually, because we've talked about a few of those teams.
Yep. So if you don't know who 11.7 is, they started out 4 years ago, I believe.
Yeah,
roughly. They're led by a former college baseball player at Mercer named Ben Upton, who also played in major leagues for the Cleveland Indians. These are former players that played the game, and we love some mid-majors around here. And I'm thrilled that 11.7 actually does these things. But they have East Carolina at number 1 for the mid-majors. I actually disagree with that.
Really?
Yes. I'm going to go out and on a limb and say the best mid-major program right now is UC San Diego, the Tritons.
That's fair. That's very fair, actually.
And I may get on a crusade this year because there's a stupid rule. James Madison was a victim of it this year in football, that you weren't eligible for postseason play if you were within 2 years of moving up. And UC San Diego is within that 2-year window, and they're not eligible for postseason play this year. And I think it's, I think it's stupid. I get why the rule is in place, but UC San Diego deserves a chance to rep in the postseason because that is a very, very good baseball team.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, the team that shocks me on here is Northeastern. Starting out 1-2. I mean, they've had to go to Arizona and play them. I mean, that's not an easy task. I don't care who you are. But, I mean, I thought that Northeastern was going to actually do something in this opening weekend. I thought they were going to make a statement. They have to play the Boston Red Sox next in obviously a game that does not count. And it's a very rare thing to see, but they're going to the state of Florida. They're doing like a little tour in Florida, and their first game of that is playing an exhibition with the Red Sox, which is awesome.
Ouch.
Oh, I mean, they're going to get the crap beat out of them, but
right.
It's going to be super fun to watch. And then another team on there, Texas State and Fresno State. I want to see both of them shoot up these rankings quickly. Texas State's about to have a very tough test in 2 weeks, and they're going to play some really good teams. Hey, sweet girl, what you do? My little one, she woke up middle of the night kind of thing, But yeah, Texas State, though, they have they'll be playing LSU. I believe they'll be playing Texas, and I can't remember who the other team is that's in that little tournament that's going on, but it's going to be a wild weekend for a team like them. And then Fresno, obviously, they're just they have a lot of good history with their program, but it's nice to see them start out 3-0. And then a former guy we were affiliated with that apparently now sells cars online, his Jacksonville Dolphins are popping in there at number 25. But yeah, who are a couple of these teams on here that you expect to shoot up these rankings in the next month or so?
I would say Coastal Carolina. They had a tough weekend, but they played some stiff competition. Mm-hmm. I think they climb up. Obviously, UC San Diego. Irvine is intriguing to me. San Jose State or Sam Houston State. That's one to keep the eye on.
They have a really nice stadium, by the way. I'd like to throw that out there. They really do. A team really too that I don't like that they're on here. I understand why they're on here, but in my eyes, I will never consider them mid-major. Is UConn. I consider UConn a power. Well, I consider them like a Power 5 team, if that's how we looked at it. But I mean, I've never considered UConn as a mid-major program. I don't have much faith in Louisiana Lafayette. I'm not buying into them. FAU on here at 20. I mean, we saw what they could do over the weekend. I mean, realistically, they were literally 1 out away from taking the series against Vanderbilt. And then obviously clutchness kicked in for Vanderbilt at the end, and that was good for them. But I think FAU is a team that definitely watch for if they can keep up what they did this past weekend. I mean, that they could definitely create some noise later in the season. I like seeing Old Dominion on there. I like seeing Evansville there. Indiana State's a team that I want to see a lot more out of. I think they do have a lot of good talent. They have some really good pitching, but I do want to see a little bit more out of them, and because I'm not officially sold on them yet.
So with FAU, their pitching is very interesting. The big deal now is velocity on the fastball and spin rate.
Mm-hmm.
That's not FAU at all.
Yeah.
Everything FAU threw off speed, we just looked at it. We couldn't figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
When they came with the fastball stuff, they were easy to hit. But when they came with that off speed, we just stood there and looked at it. We couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, but if you think about it too, the last probably I'd say really 10 solid seasons, maybe even longer, really longer than that, but especially the last 10 seasons, I've noticed that the bigger name programs have always had issues with these mid-major schools that have these guys that throw that off-speed stuff like that, and they just can never hit it. Do you remember probably like 7-8 years ago, Mississippi State had this pitcher that all he threw was a curveball. He didn't throw a fastball, a changeup, anything. All he threw was a curveball. And he literally went in extra innings against LSU and pitched like 3 or 4 innings, and nobody could touch him. I'm talking about he was striking guys like Bregman and all of them out. Like this guy was just, I mean, it was nasty.
Yeah, off speed stuff. I get the whole velocity and spin rate stuff, but if you can't hit the off speed, you might as well not even be playing because you're going to get beat.
Oh, for sure. So that reliever from Xavier last year, that Justin Lohr that gave Vanderbilt fits in the postseason last year, he transferred to LSU, and I get it. His stuff is weird. Like that is the best way to describe his pitching style. It's just very weird, but it's very dominant. Like he is going to definitely be a good back end piece, and I really like what I see out of him. And honestly, though, the funny thing is LSU plays Xavier in like 3 weeks, I think, in a series, and that'll be interesting. Just considering he was part of that team less than a year ago.
That'll be a good series.
Oh, for sure. I'm excited to see it. Actually,
was it Wright State? Tennessee hit the walk-off home run against in the regional. Ended up.
I believe it was.
Put them on the path to Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad baseball program at
No,
all.
it's not. It's not. It's nice. It's nice seeing these, smaller programs get some more love. And that's the cool thing about college baseball too, is it doesn't necessarily matter what school you go to. Anybody can win. I mean, the fact that Coastal Carolina has a national championship in baseball should tell you everything. Same with Fresno State. I mean, any year, anybody can win. It just depends on who gets hot at the end. And that's all that matters. And I mean, the last few years it's been different. But.
Cal State Fullerton has one of the top 5 greatest single season teams of all time.
Absolutely. I mean, realistically, they're a blue blood program too, though.
72 wins in a season. Oh my God.
Yeah.
They played a lot of ball back then too.
At the end of it, I would have been just so tired of playing, to be honest with you. But that was a whole different those guys that played back then versus now are 2 different kind of dogs right there.
2 different animals. Yep.
I mean, honest to God truth, I would love to see a team that played a schedule like that have the technology that we have nowadays and see what they would do with it. Because I would love to see some of these teams line up with some of these current teams. Like, I mean, if you could have, for me, line up this past season's LSU team with our 97 team that was the Gorilla Ball team that won the national championship, like that is a dream matchup for me. Like I would almost sell my soul to see it because of just how good of baseball that could produce. But I don't know. I think these little mid-major teams here, though, there's a few definitely keep an eye on. ECU, I'm okay with them being at number 1 on this. I really am. I like the story of their player that had the boating accident coming back and getting in a bat. I love seeing that and seeing the video of him actually his training and what it looks like now too. He's practicing more of just a left arm swing. I guess really just kind of get used to not being able to use that plant leg as much to put power into a swing. Which I know he's not a starter, but still, yeah.
Okay, I did not see this. I did see where the post was made on Facebook about the tier of coaches that Cover 3 did. I would agree with Venables and Clark Lee being in the same tier, most definitely. But there's a couple on there that I think both of those dudes should be ahead of. But it is what it is until they prove themselves. You got to put them where they are.
Actually, while we're talking a little bit of football, let me see if I can find it. Okay, so some breaking news. For the first time ever in Alabama football history, a coach is posted on social media.
That blew me away when I saw that earlier. I was like, no way that's true. Yeah, that's true.
It is. Realistically, though, I love that Nick Saban didn't use social media. I mean, because think about it.
Coaches didn't.
Yeah, I mean, he was real. I mean, realistically, before he got to Bama, he was such a private guy. Like he wasn't like. I mean, obviously, he was featured like on TV and stuff occasionally, but obviously, though, like the last few years, like he's regular on the Pat McAfee show. He's everywhere on ESPN. I mean, obviously now signed the contract, it makes sense. But like when he was at like Michigan State or LSU or even going to the NFL, like he wasn't pushed in your face by the media like he has been these last few years, which I get why. But the fact that he was able to go all those years without posting on social media, that is amazing. And honestly, I hope he keeps it that way. That just leaves the mystique there.
Right.
That being said, though, when you sign with ESPN, I feel like they're going to make him get on social media. I'm curious to what he would post, though. Like, all right, if Nick Saban made his first post, what do you think it would be?
I'm here.
I could picture him putting some kind of like just random meme, just the most random meme you can think of. Make people say, "What?"
Well, that or he could tag Lane Kiffin and say, "Did somebody call my name?"
Yeah, like GQ's asking right there, will he have to post as a media guy? Like that I wonder that. Like I wonder how they're going to use his role. Like I can't see him being like what Robert Griffin III does. Like he commentates football games but he's like extremely all over social media. I mean, he's on LinkedIn, he's on Facebook, he's on Twitter. Like he's posting constantly. And I mean, his content's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not dissing the guy, but I could never see Nick Saban ever getting to that point. And nor should he.
That's true.
I mean, he's Nick Saban.
There's a few coaches out there. I don't know that Kirk Ferentz has ever posted. Obviously Saban. Some of these old hands like that. I mean, why would you start?
Yeah. And then Terry's comment right here talking about Angelo State. Angelo State, they earned a lot of respect last year. They really did. Their program went on the map like crazy last year. Like I can say that going in the last year, I may have seen in my lifetime maybe one social media post about them in a baseball group. But last year I saw double digits, and I love seeing that. I love seeing like smaller programs going in and winning a College World Series. Because I believe, weren't they D3 if I'm not mistaken? I could be wrong on that.
I believe so. You know who I like?
Who's that?
And I wish they had a bigger social media presence.
Who's that?
The Scottsdale Community College. God, what are they? It's a vegetable. I can't remember what it is.
I want to call them the Radishes for some reason.
No, there is a team called the Radishes out there.
That's a great vegetable to use. I mean, I like Delta State being the Fighting Okra. That still, to me, is my favorite. I mean, they go by Statesman as well, but I really prefer them as the Fighting Okra.
Artie, the artichoke.
Yes, that's great. I love some good spinach artichoke dip, so I'm all for that. All right, let's see what we got here. I'm looking through what I've got, and, well, I do want to share this real quick. After James Madison pulled out their victory on Arkansas, this was their social media graphic. And I will say, as a person that does a lot of social media graphics, this one right here is my all-time favorite. And the reason why is because this looks like something I would make. And I say that because, all right, first of all, the bacon making the W,
Yep.
I like that because all right, so from my view, when I look at things like this is how I look at it when I get creative. Well, first of all, you can tell that the bacon is only 2 slices of bacon used to make that W because the 2 longer pieces were shrunk down to make the middle part of the W. And then that bottom piece of bacon was also one of the bacons on the plate. That's one thing to notice. Now, when you look at the eggs, same egg, just different color because they put a fade tone on there. I like this kind of social media. I love this so much. I like the fact that it's a messy plate too. Like this to me, this was just like 10 out of 10. Like if there was a way to post a good like victory post for your baseball program, this right here is the post. I have no idea if it went viral or got a lot of traction, but it should because this was phenomenal.
How about this? Some barbecued bacon. I mean, that's why the plate's dirty. It's barbecue sauce. You had barbecued bacon.
Hey, I'm all for that now. I do. I want to get Smoker out and make some barbecue this weekend, but I probably won't do it. I'll talk a big game and not go through with it. I do have another graphic actually.
If you ain't make some barbecued bacon this weekend, you're gonna have to sit out Monday night show.
Deal. Absolutely. This is the last graphic that I actually have for the show, and oh man, Terry gonna come up with a new stuffed burger recipe. Oh my goodness.
No, sir. That stuffed burger recipe you gave us last week is epic.
Absolutely. So as you can see here on the screen, these are the SEC power rankings updated, but I will say this, nobody got a say in these except for me. So if anyone wants to come at anybody about this, definitely just come at me about it because this is what I came up with on the fly, and I can explain my rankings. I'm leaving Mizzou at the bottom because they played Cal Poly, didn't get to see enough out of them because of the curfew and all that good stuff. So I left them at 14. Ole Miss went to Hawaii. Very tough series for them. They go 2-2 while they're away. So I moved them down. I actually boosted Mississippi State up, even though they did lose 1 to Air Force. But I feel like with their new pitching coach, just from what I've seen from Mississippi State fans on Twitter, they're all very, very excited about the future for the program. And rightfully so, because they do have a solid team on them. Kentucky, they played USC upstate. I'm not giving them any love yet. I'm not buying it. Georgia, though, I did give them a boost. And the reason I gave Georgia a boost is because obviously their pitching is good, but their offense is second in the SEC. And which, obviously you have Charlie Condon. That alone makes up for that. But their own base percentage leads the conference. And that's huge. It really is. And then Auburn and Bama pretty much stayed the same. Florida, I moved them down as a joke. And that's why I put the little laughing face on there. I was not being serious about that. Like realistically, you could have Florida anywhere from 3 to 7, and I'm not going to bat an eye about it. But they still don't have a win in the conference. I put Vanderbilt at 6, and the reason I did that is because I bumped South Carolina up to 4. And the only reason I did put them at 6 is because of the close call with FAU and then actually dropping 1 to them. Now if I went based off of yesterday, it'd be a totally different ranking here. But A&M, they were solid all weekend. They put up a good show. Same with South Carolina. Obviously, with them having their no-hitter, that was what put them in the top 4 for me. Tennessee, I have them at 3 based on the fact that, they literally went 2-1, tough series. They had to play in, and so I put them at 3. Arkansas, I don't have a reason to really knock them too much. I swapped them in LSU just because one went undefeated, the other one didn't. So Terry's asking where would Texas and Oklahoma fit in here? I would say realistically, I would probably put Texas at 3 ahead of Tennessee, and then I would put Oklahoma probably at 5 or 6. Actually, I wouldn't be able to put Oklahoma ahead of Vanderbilt. I couldn't do that. I could put them ahead of Florida right now, but not Vanderbilt. So I'd say I'd put them like 7. And that's where I would have.
I think you value them a lot more than what I value them.
They sold me on the way they played Tennessee. That was the 100% why. That is the only reason why. And then go ahead.
So for me, I'm putting Texas anywhere from 5 to 8.
That's fair. I mean, that's very fair. I mean, because they were not perfect over the weekend by any stretch. They had
For
talent.
Oklahoma, I'm putting Oklahoma behind Georgia and Kentucky because I'm telling you, Kentucky's going to be a solid baseball team.
All right, so
Georgia is a solid team.
Okay, so if you had to make a guess, where would Georgia and Kentucky end up in this power ranking when it's all said and done? If they do what you think they could do.
I'm not valuing Texas A&M that much right now.
Sure.
So it's very plausible for both Georgia and UK to move ahead of Alabama, Auburn, and Texas A&M.
Okay. So based off of what you saw, who are the teams that you do not see making the postseason in the SEC?
Missouri and Mississippi State.
Oh, interesting. See, I was going to say Missouri and Ole Miss. I was going to give Mississippi State that little bit of a nod. I'm. You can blame Lounge Dog for that one. He's got me sold on Mississippi State.
That's fair. It's either going to be Ole Miss or Mississippi State, one of those two in Missouri.
Sure. I got you. Now I will say of these teams, I would say that I think only 4 SEC teams will host a regional this year. I don't know why I'm thinking that, but I just have that feeling that everybody's going to beat each other this year. And it's gonna make the conference not look as good, even though the teams are actually better. And I think we're going to see a lot of 15-15 teams,
which we do every year.
Yeah, but I think it'll be more than normal. I really do. I think it's going to be a situation of I think we might even see a 13-win team get in this year.
I've actually seen 16 and 14 win the SEC East.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely So it's a weird thing to say, but I think LSU, Arkansas, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and I'll be nice and say Kentucky, I guess. I think they will all win more than 16 games in the conference. I really do. I think the teams, though, that's going to be on the fringe, I think Mississippi State's going to win 13 or 14. I think Auburn's going to win between 13 and 15. I think Alabama, see, that's the team, though, that I'm really scratching my head about.
Because I don't know what they got.
Exactly.
New coach, best player left. What do they got?
Yeah, I mean, their best player leaves in the transfer portal. Well, actually, they lost 2 of their best players, really.
One graduated out of eligibility.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, and then, I'll be honest with you, I think LSU's got the talent to they will never do a 27-3. Nobody's going to do that again. That's just not going to happen. But I could see a team.
What are you telling me?
That Vanderbilt team is one of the greatest of all time. No, I mean, that was a special season. I mean, that will never be topped. I think
and to think that team didn't even get out of region.
Yeah, absolutely. So this may sound
Louisville.
Yeah. And so what's crazy though is, and taking my unbiased hat off after what I watched over the weekend, I will say that I could see an LSU team winning 22 games in conference this year, which would be a huge step up for them. I mean, it really would be. And just looking at their schedule, that's the only reason I say that.
But Barry asked a good question here.
UCLA and USC will have more success in baseball rather than football and Big 10. Oh, 100%. Yes, absolutely. I think the only thing that's going to hurt them is the fact that, with conference play when it starts, when they have to travel to some of these teams up north, I don't see that. That's where I don't know how that's going to work out. is scheduling that, because obviously you can't let them. Well, I guess unless they play a bunch of home series early and then travel at the end. But with those winter conditions, I mean, like, you just don't know when it's going to let up. I mean, because I know that a bunch of places got snow recently, so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, I think USC and UCLA will do very, very well in the Big Ten. I think that I'm not going to say, though, I don't think that it's going to help them in terms of bettering their programs. I think they'll stay about where they're at. But I think, though, in terms of win-loss totals, I think that they will definitely improve.
I think UCLA and USC have nothing. All they can do is gain in baseball, because now you're going to be going and playing Northeast, like Maryland and Rutgers, and you're going to be putting your product out in front of some of these kids that normally don't see it.
That's true, and they will get a lot more exposure too, and that is nice. Because that's the one thing I hate about West Coast baseball is it doesn't get enough exposure out here, and when it does, I mean, they're playing these like super late games that us on the East Coast, we're not staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, poor Ole Miss fans having to stay up till like 3 o'clock in the morning to watch their team play the other day. Like, that sucks. I mean, that really does. And I've done it before.
Saw one of their tweets that said 3:45 a.m. and Ole Miss has the lead.
Yep.
No, thank you.
Like, I remember a few years ago in Hoover, I was at the LSU Alabama game that went to extra innings. And that about killed me. And my dad and brother were at that LSU Alabama game that went like 17 innings in Tuscaloosa, and they stayed the whole game. And it didn't end until like almost 3 o'clock in the morning.
Do you know who did not have a lead at 3:45 a.m.?
Who?
Florida. Oops.
Oh, it makes me wonder though. Okay, so Florida loses their opening game. Obviously, you're throwing, one of your better arms in that game. Was it a fluke, or is this going to be a pattern that we see carry out this season?
St. John's just barely missed out on getting in the NCAA tournament last year. It's a good baseball team.
Yeah.
So, am I shocked that they won? No. Is it going to be a trend going forward? I don't know. They're using CAGs on Sunday. You're going to win most of your Sunday games.
Sure.
If you used him on Friday night, the kid's not making it out of the 4th or 5th inning.
Yeah.
We've seen it. So I think they're doing the smart thing, using him on Sundays.
Now, are they still going to do the thing where they let him hit as well when he pitches?
I'm sure.
I think they'd be stupid. Because, I mean, I feel like that's what cost him.
It's the best bat in their lineup.
It is. But ultimately, I feel like I think he got tired. Every time he would pitch, he'd be very tired, and he would have just basic games.
Yeah.
Like
they're not having any control at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think too, though, when that happened in the national championship, I think he was also just very wired up. And he was like, this is my game, here we go. And then
but the problem is that wasn't the first time we saw that. We saw it in the SEC tournament against Vanderbilt.
Yep.
Got lit up for 4 runs in the first inning. He was done. He's cooked.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, man. Well, all right. Let's see here. Trying to see if we have anything else to add to here.
I don't see any glaring absences.
I see one video I can share, and I think it's really just some advice to these teams that did not perform up to their standards over the weekend. Just a little bit of friendly advice for you from the coach of Troy.
I would love to see us play better baseball.
Play some better baseball, boys.
See better baseball.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Let me look at these comments. Okay, so Terry has a good point, wishing that they would have gone to the Big 12 instead of the Big 10. I agree on that, actually. I think that baseball-wise, the Big 12 would have – oh, my goodness. That would have been the perfect 2 teams to replace Texas and Oklahoma.
How about this idea? How about we stop with the realignment, send Texas and Oklahoma back to the Big 12 where they belong, put the Pac-12 teams back in the Pac-12 where they belong, and stop with this stupid nonsense.
Well, can we kick Missouri and Texas A&M out of the SEC then?
Yes.
Okay, good, because I would like to do that. I hate Texas A&M. I hate everything
That was a dumb move too.
It was. I mean, for Texas A&M, it made sense. And Missouri, I initially thought that was the craziest thing ever. Then they go and win the freaking East. And I'm like, well, alrighty then. But, yeah, I mean, they've all done fine. It's nice seeing that Missouri's kind of back again in football. But, yeah, A&M, they do nothing for me.
Right.
So, it is what it is. Well, that being said, I guess George is offline officially. So
sounds like it.
Yeah, so I guess really, I mean, that's really about all we can talk about. Some good baseball coming up this weekend. Unfortunately, and this is the first, I don't know. Okay, so I don't know if you've seen this in previous seasons. Maybe I've just overlooked it, but so LSU started off this weekend with a 4-game series. They're off. Then they start their next week. They start on Thursday and play another 4-game series, but they're skipping midweek games. I haven't seen that.
Who's doing that?
LSU is.
Okay.
And that's weird to me. I mean, then after that, we get back to the midweeks and we play that tournament, and then it's back to midweek 3-game series or whatever. But opening the season with just 4 back-to-back games.
So, Jacques brings up an interesting thought here that realignment will kill college sports before NIL will.
I agree. 100% agree.
I don't agree with that. Because currently there's a pending lawsuit. And you read the relief sought in this lawsuit. Granted, it only pertains to 2 states right now, that's Virginia and Tennessee. But the relief requested in this lawsuit literally is a ban on NIL rules enforcement. Now, if you ban that, then you have no way of controlling NIL. And if the NIL is uncontrolled, you're not going to, trust me, you're not going to, if this injunction is granted and NIL rules enforcement is banned in Virginia and Tennessee, you can mark it on the chalkboard. 40 other states will join. And you're essentially going to have no rules governing NIL, and it's going to kill college football. It's going to kill college sports altogether. So I have a different take.
Okay. I mean, I don't disagree with your take either. I mean, my biggest thing too, though, was just if you load these conferences up and get too many big names, I think it hurts the value of the conference.
True.
Because everybody's going to beat each other. And now we're having a 12-team playoff. I mean, what are they rewarding? Teams that were just almost good enough to make the playoff?
And here's another interesting thing. Yes, Ohio State, Texas, Tennessee, I agree. They can only spend so much money. But do you think it's a level playing field for Ohio State to have a $300 million football budget? And Kentucky having a $90 million football budget? Is that a level playing field? No, it's not.
Yeah.
So
I don't believe any rumor that says Florida would leave the SEC. There's no reason for them to leave the conference. I don't think they would. I just don't see it. Like, nah. They got too much prestige at their school to even entertain that idea.
They've won more national championships in the past 10 years than any school in the SEC.
There you go. Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody paid players over the years. There was no skipping around that. Like, yeah.
Right.
If anyone says that there wasn't pay for play going on, they're just blind because it was clear as day.
And I don't disagree that there was. I'm only saying that with no rules, you're asking for if you have called it the Wild Wild West already, wait until there's no rules and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because then you won't have a booster involved in 6 different schools on federal fraud charges right now.
True.
And I'm looking at you, John Ruiz, who's connected to Kansas and Florida and Miami and you name it, he's connected to them, who's under federal investigation for fraud because of what he was doing in NIL stuff. So you get rid of NIL rules enforcement, and guess what? There goes lawsuit, and it's going to be Wild Wild West Part 2.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Chris, I got to ask, you got any final thoughts on the evening?
Yes, I'm going to answer Terry's question here. Florida State is rumored possibly to Big Ten, aren't they? Yes, that is the rumor to the Big Ten. I did see a post today that they're going to apply with the SEC, but we already know that Greg Sankey has already said that they have no interest in Florida State and Clemson. So Big Ten's about the only place they can go.
Yep. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Let's see.
So whenever you're ready, I guess I've covered everything I had to cover.
Yeah, same. I'm out. I ain't got nothing else to say except for appreciate everybody tuning in. Maybe George will get a little bit of internet power tonight where he can at least stream the show without lag. We'll see.
You know what happened, right?
What's that?
Missouri's AD left. It was announced today that the Missouri AD is leaving.
Mm-hmm.
She just pulled up all the internet connections in Missouri. She's taking them out west to Arizona with her.
I mean, might as well. Which, by the way, shout out to Arizona for pulling that one off. With them having their issues financially and everything, I mean, that's a win right there.
You're $150 million in debt, and you're pulling a sitting AD from an SEC school that's getting a $50 million payout every year from the SEC. I want to know what's in that contract.
Absolutely. Well, that being said, we appreciate everybody watching tonight. We will see you Friday, same place, same time. And, so let's enjoy some baseball. And thankfully, we have some Thursday games this week and a few midweeks. We'll have a little bit of baseball to talk about, but we're going to be talking about probably college basketball more in the next couple shows because we're getting to that point where we're about to have the NCAA tournament coming up. We got a few, I think, 8-9 games left in the regular season heading to tournament play. So we're getting there.
Probably going to have 8 or 9 teams in the women's tournament this year, too.
Yep, absolutely.
And saw something that happened yesterday in women's basketball. It puts a visual on just how big the gap is between the top 4 teams in the SEC and everybody else. And that's a significant gap. But that being said, SEC is the power conference in women's basketball, and it will continue to be.
Absolutely. Well, that being said, we definitely appreciate everybody tuning in tonight, and we will see you this Friday night. So thanks for watching, and have a great evening.